Hello, everybody. It's me, Nate, aka Devil Dog, and I'm back with another game review. That's right. This time I'm reviewing Crime Boss Rockay City physical release version for PlayStation 5. Now, keep in mind, this game actually released all the way back on March 28th of 2023 digitally. That had a lot of massive issues to it, and I never reviewed the game. So I decided, you know what, maybe just give this game a chance, wait until a physical release, and then I'll review it then, and see if they'd iron out the bugs. Now, this game was developed by In-Game Studios and published by 505 Games, and it initially released on March 28th of 2023, but it's just now seen a physical release on all systems. With some upgrades, they actually have tweaked and made the game a lot better. Now, what exactly is it? It is basically a co-op first-person shooter that borrows heavily from the Payday series, with a tongue-in-cheek sort of attitude with the main characters that are in it, including Michael Madsen. You've got like all kinds of people in it. Chuck Norris, Michael Madsen. I'm not going to get into the list of the people that are in this, but I will say this right now. Obviously, 98% of all the budget went to all the voice acting stars that are in this. Seriously. And, honestly, Michael Rooker does a decent job. And most of the others don't do a bad job, but they just come off as hokey. But let me read to you the short synopsis of what they actually say about this game. Rockay City, a thriving metropolis with excitement buzzing from the sandy bay to the towering skyscrapers. But before the glamour, there's a fierce turf war raging on. After the demise of the previous crime boss, there's an open vacancy for a new king of Rockay City. But it isn't just who you think is fighting for the throne. Choose your crew based on their skills and expertise and execute daring missions with the hopes of walking away with the cash, the turf, and ultimately the crown. That's what they came up with for Rockay City. Honestly, the gameplay itself is structurally a lot better than the original release. They have ironed out a lot of the bugs. A lot of the glitches I had in the original version are no longer here, which I can actually applaud them for. But let's be honest, in a game like this, all they can do is tighten up what they already have. It's not like they're going to change anything. You got, like 4 different game modes, including a single-player mode, an online co-op mode, and some other modes, but none of them are really different from each other than the fact of adding in real other-world players to help you play through these missions. And all I can say, this seems to be only, once again, like I said, I wasn't expecting them to change this, but only like 6 to 7 different mission types in this. They all consist of going from point A to point B to point C to point D, and getting back to point A to leave. The gunplay, honestly, is floaty and kind of crappy until you actually end up dying a couple times, because this is a roguelike title. Yes, no joke, when you're playing the single-player mode, it's a roguelike title, and if you die, you have to start all the way back from the very beginning. The only thing they do add is these special cards that give you permanent lock-in bonuses to your character for like either movement sway of your guns, more health, a little bit more of an overpowered mode I call Hulk mode when you're fighting people. But all it consists is some really bare bones, plain Jane, boring first-person shooting, going around levels, shooting bad guys, collecting items, and escaping. That's really all you're going to get from this. Hands down, there's a reason why when they promoted this on the Video Game Awards a while back, they didn't really promote it and tell you what it was. They just had Michael Madsen come out. He's like, I'm Michael Madsen. I'm in this game. You need to play the game because I'm Michael Madsen. Now, the one thing I will say is the character models aren't really as bad as they originally looked. I think they really did tweak them to make them look a little bit better on the PS5 version compared to the original launch. The lip syncing ain't that bad, but it's still not no AAA quality. It really isn't. The game isn't even full price. I think it's like $20-$30 tops for it, which for that is really not a bad thing considering that this is obviously nothing more than a Payday the Heist ripoff. It really is. It's Payday with a bunch of overpaid famous people in it doing voiceover work. Hands down, while I love Chuck Norris to death, the dude is old as fucking duck farts at this point, and he can't even talk straight. And you can tell they cobbled stuff together, along with him and Vanilla Ice for some reason. Every time Vanilla Ice talks, after he talks, he's like, and it wasn't even him. You could tell it was somebody else adding in the beatboxing. This is a thing where it tries to have too much style over substance, but the problem is the style is so outdated and flaky, it just comes off as corny. Honestly, if I had Adam West Batman show up in this motherfucker, I probably would think it would fit in with this aesthetic. It wouldn't faze me at all, considering how corny and over the top these characters are portraying themselves as. You know, Danny Trejo, he makes everything better that he's in, he really does, but at the same time, you can only add so many famous people to a game and have the game that is just bare bones butt cheese to where it's not a viably good, fun game to play. Is it playable? Yes, it is. They have buttoned up a lot of stuff. They had added a lot of tweaks. It does have a lot less bugs to it. It plays a lot more fluently. Visually, I think they even bumped up the fidelity quality of the game. Now, as for graphics, it's nothing to write home about. It's not a AAA title, and I don't think it's ever trying to be that. It's obvious it spent most of its budget on the stars that they got into this, Michael Rooker and the rest of the people that are doing their voice work in it. They do a fairly decent job, but honestly, the gameplay itself of just going to point A to point B, to hold down a button, to pick up bags of drugs or money, to go back to your try to sneak around, which that's another thing. The stealth, they did not fix the stealth. The original version stealth is just to suck you in this. The slightest things, tip off the enemies. Do they spot you? Hell, I've had times when enemies looking right at me, I'm right in front of them, and they're like, oh, I don't see you. You must be John Cena, because you can't see me. But I've had a lot of issues with this game, and while I do appreciate the fact that they did actually go in and work on this to fix it, to get rid of all the bugs that the original version had, the game itself still comes off as a budget basement title with more money spent on the voice actors than the actual gameplay itself. After playing this for 10 minutes, you get the whole gist of it. I would have to say, just go and play Payday. Just go back and play Payday. Payday is way better than this. I mean, this game even copies from Payday by having like the saws cutting through the safes that are the same exact damn thing as Payday. This screams like Payday that's trying to be cool with like a Saints Row feel with over-the-top actors that are all voiced by famous people. And it just fails on every aspect. I will say I'm glad they buttoned up the shooting. You no longer really have enemies that are major bullet sponges. You do later on in the major levels later on, but for the most part, if you do a headshot now, it does kill an enemy without 15 shots to the head. And they did get rid of a lot of the bugs, which I do gratefully appreciate. Now, if you're someone out there that's got $20, $30 willing to waste on this, I'd say go ahead, have fun with it. It's not the worst game I've played. They did fix a lot of problems in this title, but it is still just a very generic, bland, unoriginal copy and paste of Payday with famous people voice acting these characters that look like 30 years younger of them in this title. And in the end, it's not the worst game that I played, but in the end, it brings absolutely nothing to the table. There's a reason why I never reviewed this when it first launched, and I can't say this now in its current state with being tweaked. It has been tweaked significantly. It does visually look better. It does play better. They did remove a lot of the bugs that the original version had, but it's still a boring, unoriginal take that is just stealing too much from Payday and not having its original heart and soul to make something new to stand out from the rest of the bunch. And all I can say is, Chuck Norris, please stop voice acting. Stop. Live the rest of your life. You're a living legend, but go into the afterlife knowing that your last work ain't going to be on this shit of Rockay City, because your voice acting is terrible like most of the people on here other than Michael Rooker's. That's my own personal belief. Leave in the comments below what you think of my review of Crime Boss Rockay City on PlayStation 5. If there's anything I failed to point out with this, please leave in the comments below. Give me a thumbs up if you like this video. Please leave lots of comments so I can answer each and every single one of them. And of course, here at Double Dog Gaming, we always end our videos by saying, have fun, play hard, and remember, people, the devil is in the details. Peace out until next time.